I was in the back garden. I remember being on the phone to Barkleys, and Barkleys were threatening me with debt collection. Hey everyone, welcome to another video. Let's discuss debt. It's a real big topic. It can be very, very scary if you're in the debt trap. I have spoken very candidly about my own debt story on YouTube, but the whole reason for this video is an update. So if you've seen any of those old debt videos, I think I've told you how I got into debt, and I think I might have told you how I got out of it, but I've never done a video where I've joined the two together. So in this, I'm going to be sharing with you completely transparently how it happened and how I clawed my way out of it. So if you're in debt, if you're struggling, if you're scared, I really hope this video helps. Now, the reason for this video is actually one of you. You emailed me last week. You've asked me to do this video. You don't want your name read out and you don't want your email read out, but you're happy for me to wrap up the context of what you were saying in order so that everyone kind of knows the reason for this video. So you said to me, in fact, you didn't even tell me your name. I remember that now. You were like, I don't even want to tell you my name. You said that you have no one you can talk to because you're actually scared that people are going to have a go at you for getting into debt. You wrote to me because you said you want to talk to someone, and the only person you felt that you could talk to was me because I don't know you. I'm not going to judge you. I wouldn't judge you anyway. I would never judge anyone who has ended up in debt because I know what it's like. I know how you can get there, and I know what a slippery slope it is. So this video is for you, but it's also for any of you watching who are stuck in it. So here's how I got into debt. My debt journey started when I was around about 18. And I wanted the nice things in life, but I didn't have the money for them. And it's kind of like a sequence of events that were badly timed that snowballed me into this situation. So I had a job, worked very hard at it. I worked in a pub, but the money was not great. And all of that money used to go on my social life. Anything left over used to go on clothes for my social life. But I yearned for more. You know, I'd go into shops with friends who could afford all of this stuff and I couldn't. And it made me want their life. You know, I had a friend, and she was so lucky. Her mum used to give her her credit card, and my friend knew her mum's signature because it was back in the day before pins, chip and pin. We used to go out shopping. I would have £5 and it would go on my McDonald's lunch. I didn't have a penny left for anything else. Maybe £1 or something, but not enough to actually buy anything. Whereas when I went out with her, she'd buy shoes, she'd buy outfits. She had so much stuff that her bedroom, when I used to stay over, I used to be in awe. I'd be like, oh my God, you're living the dream. You have every latest outfit out. You've got all of the latest bags. She didn't have designer stuff, but she had everything in fact, younger than that, because I knew her at school. I used to go out shopping with her aged 14, and she would be in River Island buying the newest shoes, Miss Selfridge buying the newest outfit. And you know, back then when you're 14, that's a lot. So I was surrounded by people like that, and I really aspired to that lifestyle. Anyway, I get to university, and this is where it really kicked off. And this is one thing that makes me so mad about university, is how they encourage new students and existing students to get into debt, and it's normalized. So I get there on the first day and like checking in and stuff, and a few banks were there. They had out tables and they were literally giving out overdrafts. So I go over to NatWest, the NatWest table, not because I wanted to, but because I'd met a couple of girls who it turned out I was going to be sharing in halls with, and we all just clung together. No one knew each other, but it was like safety in numbers. And one of the girls went up to this NatWest table because the NatWest table was offering free gifts if you took out this overdraft. And us all being really young and a bit scared, and we didn't know anyone, and you know, you want to kind of fit in. One person asked for the free crayons, and we all did. But in order to get the free crayons, you had to take out the overdraft. So, and it was £2,000. And we all said to each other, oh, we won't use the overdraft. We only just want the crayons. So we all took it out. There were no credit checks. There was nothing. There was a form you had to fill in. That was it. That was the start, and that was the end of it. And then your card came in the post and you were away. Well, on the table next door was Barkleys, and they were doing exactly the same thing, giving away freebies if you took out their overdraft. So we did it again. Again, all us girls are like, we're never going to use these overdrafts. Cut the card up when it turns up. Never going to use it. Just want the freebies. And that's how it started, because not just for me, but for those girls that I met that day, we all ended up using these overdraft facilities. And you would be mind blown how quickly £2,000 can get blown. To me, at aged 18, £2,000 was like 200,000. I thought, my gosh, I'm never going to be able to spend all of that. That's why I started using the card, because I thought, oh, it's only £10 here, it's £20 there. That all adds up. This trickle down effect, as well as buying food, as well as buying books for university. Some of these books were like £200. That is disgusting. That is, people are profiteering from that. And what's really annoying is that every year or every term, semester, I can't remember, but they update the book slightly, so there's a new edition. So your old edition, you can't even sell it, because the new people coming up, they need to buy the new one because your old one's out of date already. It is a massive money-making scheme, and buying these books used to make me so angry. I know I was spending money on other stuff, but buying these books, it was such a con, it was such a rip-off. And as I say, they were between, let's say, £100 and £200 for a book. A book. Now, you might ask the question, do I still own any of the things that I bought? Because I did have this thing that I've spoken about before, where, particularly when I got into work, which I'm going to come on to, because work was not good, but when I got to that sort of level, I'd got to a point where I was used to spending this money. I'd exceeded the £2,000 credit limit with NatWest, so I moved on to Barkleys. I had no way of paying off the overdrafts because I had this little job at university, but it paid me like enough to buy my food. And they paid me in cash. It was just like, I worked at a pub. I used to earn a little bit of money. I remember if I worked a week, I'd get £18, and I used to get some tips on top of it. So as you can see, like, really not a lot, not enough to make a dent on 2K. But the whole thing just kept going and kept snowballing. So all this was going on. Then the next thing that happened, I graduate university. The week I graduated, it's like the banks knew. I had both banks phoning me up. I remember it was summer. I was in the back garden. I remember being on the phone to Barkleys, and Barkleys were threatening me with debt collection, like bailiffs. And I said to Barkleys, I was like, it's like, you know, the day that I graduated. And I said to them, I'm desperately trying to find a job so I can start earning money to pay into that account. But guess what? When you're a graduate, very few people want to give you a job, because they're like, what experience do you have? And you're like, well, none, because I went to school and then I went to university. That's another frustration for me in the workplace, is how unfair the workplace is on graduates. It almost makes you think that that university degree is an expensive way of getting in debt for really no reason at all, because no one wants to help you when you've graduated. So Barkleys were threatening me with all this. And I remember saying to the lady, I was like, I don't have a job. I'm really trying. As soon as I get a job, I will start paying you back. But I did say to her, I said, I own nothing. I literally owned nothing of any value. I didn't even have a laptop. Gonna come onto a laptop in a second. That's a whole nother story of how I got into some more debt. But that was that situation. So the next thing that happened, Barkleys never did send debt collection round, but I did continuously get lots of aggressive letters. And may I say, the day that they encouraged us to take out these loans, which is what they were happy. They were treating us like children because we were. There was no credit checks. It was, oh, have a free teddy bear and some crayons. Like, how insulting is that? Now I look back, how dangerous is that they should do it? I really hope things have changed now, but this was what things were like back in the 2000s. So anyway, I managed to get myself a job. And this job, I've told you about it before, it was the most awful job I've ever worked at in my life. The bullying was next level. The bullying was so bad, and it was daily, and it was relentless, and it was all from the same person, and it was witnessed by other people. And this person, people turned a blind eye to it. And the girls that did my job before I started, the people that worked there all told me that none of those girls had lasted. They'd all quit and moved on. I had to stick it there for nearly 3 years because I couldn't get a job anywhere else, and it was the only money I could get. So I'm working in this place. Literally on an evening, I would drive home crying because of the bullying, because I knew I had more of it the next day to come. Including, I've done a video on it, I got framed for theft of a £25 Marks and Spencer's voucher. I don't even go into Marks and Spencer's except now as a grown-up for food. Back when I was 20, Marks and Spencer was not my vibe, and I'm not a thief, and it was just... And then guess what? The person who accused me of taking it found it in her office. So I'm working this job. Guess what? The money that I earn every month isn't enough to pay off, to pay off the monthly repayments on my credit cards, which I now had at this point. I had a car on finance. Don't even ask. Again, no credit checks done, nothing. I had 2 overdrafts, and I was up to my neck. I was drowning, and I would get paid, and I would have to run to the hole in the wall and take out enough money for petrol each month so that I could actually drive to work in the first place. And I had to do that because what used to happen, I was not earning enough, so my direct debits would start bouncing because there was not enough money in the account to pay everything off because I wasn't earning enough. Then for this laptop scenario, I thought, right, I've really got to get out of this place. It was not good for my health, my mental state of health. It was ruining my life. It wasn't paying me anything anyway. And so I thought, right, I'm going to get a laptop and I'm going to use it to do my CV, because I didn't have a computer, right? So I thought, I'm going to use it to do my CV. I'm going to use it to get online. I'm going to use it to like go onto job sites and try and get a job. So I went onto eBay, and this guy was selling a Apple. It was an old one. It was like used or whatever, but it was like an Apple laptop. And God, I was so stupid. He told me that he would do me this really good deal if I did a bank transfer. You can see where this is going. He told me, oh, if you do a bank transfer off a credit card, you're covered because it's a credit card. And I thought, yeah, you're right, you are. If it's a credit card, all good. So I phoned up my credit card at the time, and the little money I had left in the account, which again, funny that, was the amount that he said that he would take. So I was like, all I've got is this amount of money, like £400 for a £1,000 laptop. He was like, yeah, I'll take it, laptop's yours. And I was like, wow, you're nice. Transferred this money, stopped hearing from him. And I had his address, so I phoned up the police and I told them what's happened, and I give them his address, and they went over there. Guess what? Apparently he's been doing it to loads of people, and he was renting at the time, and the front door was opened by the landlord, who said that she'd had to kick him out, and she said they've got bailiffs turning up, debt collection turning up, all of these angry letters coming through the door, all to do with him because of what he'd been up to. So I never got that money back. He never wrote back to me again. And guess what? I phoned up my credit card thinking I'd be covered, and they were like, no, because you did a transfer, you're not covered. You're only covered if you actually pay for it. with your credit card. So how did I get out of it? Well, I'm not going to lie to you. If you're in debt right now, depending on how much debt you're in, because I got into £40,000 worth of debt. I was in deep. I was in huge. I used to not be able to sleep at night. If I went out with friends, eventually I ended up being quite distant because everyone would be having a good time and I'd literally sit there just dwelling on what am I going to do. It was all consuming. It was all I could think about. And the way I got out of it, and it's not quick and it's not easy, and I've got to tell you that, the first thing I did is I managed to get out of that awful job and I started climbing my way up the ladder. And I knew the sector I wanted to work in. So I wanted to work in marketing, had my degree in marketing, and I started to get interviews. And this was after I'd been at this rubbish job for like 3 years. So I think what happened was I had 3 years experience by that point. So companies were starting to go, okay, yeah, you're young, you're a graduate, but you got 3 years experience. So I started going for like interviews. Like, I was getting so many interviews, I didn't know what to do with myself. And this one job came up and it was in a great location. I went to see the place, it was gorgeous, and I remember thinking I would die to work here. The money was good, and the money was enough that it would pay for my life, and it would give me enough to start clearing the debt. So I took on this job, and then do you know what I did a couple of years later? I moved to another place, and I got over double my salary increase. Did it again, moved on again. Another thing that I did is I would work for promotions, and I've done videos before on how to get a promotion, and a lot of you have followed those tips and you've told me that they've worked for you, which I'm always so delighted to hear. If you want another video on how to get a promotion or a bonus, let me know in the comments below. But I would aim for promotions, I would aim for bonuses. If I didn't get either, I would quit and I would move to another place at another level, earning more money, and I would keep doing it. And it was like climbing a mountain for me. It felt like I was climbing a mountain. The higher up the food chain I got, the more money started coming through, but also the more my confidence started to flourish, because I was like, wow, I'm not even 30 and I'm a director. And it all really boosted my self-esteem, but I could see my debt going down. And this is another thing you have to do. You absolutely have to. If you're spending on bits and pieces for yourself, like clothes, makeup, nights out, whatever, you have to stop. Even though it's really difficult, because you feel like every so often like you deserve a treat because you're working so hard and you're not spending anything on yourself. Those days will come. Once you've cleared your debt, you can spend what you want on whatever you want. But until then, honestly, focus on clearing the debt. The other thing that I did is I got a consolidation loan. That was very difficult to get because I was in so much debt and my credit history wasn't good at this point, because as I told you, in that terrible job, I want to call it another word, but I won't on here. In that terrible job, my credit suffered because I wasn't earning enough to pay my bills each month. But I managed to get this consolidation loan only because I knew the bank manager and was like, please. And he was like, okay, I trust you, but don't screw up on this. And I didn't. And that meant that I could grab all of my credit cards, which were all on different APRs, and I could chuck them into one on a fixed APR. And I knew how much I had to pay each month. It didn't fluctuate. And I was actually clearing debt, as opposed to when you're paying off credit cards and you're paying off interest, unless it's interest free. And this allowed me to start to make headway. Now, if you can't get a loan, one thing you can do is if you phone up your credit cards, your credit card would rather you talk to them than default. Guaranteed. Phone up your credit card and talk to them about the APR. Talk to them about a payment plan. There are things they can do. Things they can do that don't always have a negative impact on your credit file as well. it's much worse to default than it is to have a frank conversation with them. And a lot of places, when I spoke to a lot of places about being in difficulty, no one ever shouted at me. No one was ever nasty to me. People were always just really understanding, because guess what? There are more people in debt that you would have it down for. The person you're talking to in the call centre on the phone, probably in the same debt as well, probably in the same situation. It's really common. And that is how I got out of it. But let me tell you, it took me around about 8 years to claw my way out of it. And it was like this, you know, some months you'd have paid off a lot and then you get a bill come through. You'd need 4 new tyres on your car, so it will go back down again. But generally it was on an upward trajectory of paying things off, but it's like that as you go along, because you get unforeseen bills or stuff comes up and you need to dip back into the credit cards again or whatever. But that is how I did it. And as I've said, if you want a new updated video on how to get a promotion, on how to get a bonus, on what to do if you're working somewhere and you're not getting either, do you move on? Do you quit? Do you go to the next place? How do you do it? How do you get taken seriously? Let me know and I can do a video on that. But I want to thank all of you for watching, and I really hope that if any of you are struggling with debt, that this video has given you some confidence, has made you feel less alone. It can be difficult talking to others, because when I tried to talk to others, other people were just like, how did you let that happen? And I'm like, it's irrelevant how it happened. The fact is it happened. Now how can I get out of it? And I felt that people were very quick to judge, but they didn't have any suggestions whatsoever on how I could get out of it. I had to figure that out myself. And so if I can share this with you and some of what I did helps you, then that is the best thing for me. And if you're not in debt, I hope that you've just enjoyed watching this video. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.